morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Gary from the Migrant Careers Support Trust. Today, we have a lovely panel of very intelligent and wonderful ladies with us. We are honoring the International Women's Day, and this program and this session is dedicated to that. So we are starting with 1 hour session with Nish Pai, who will be talking on creating leadership and ownership at work. This is something which is very close to hearts of the entire workforce and very important for success in today's world. Without taking too much time, I'll introduce Nish to us, and then I will leave you, Nish, with the session. So I'm happy to introduce you Nish Pai. Nish Pai is the head of learning experience at Mitre. She has been in the learning profession for the last 20 years across 3 countries and 6 industries, helping people find their passion and purpose. An award-winning instructional designer, certified organizational coach, executive leadership expert, and psychometric assessor, she strives every day to create safe spaces and celebrate growth and diversity and empower high performance. So we welcome Nish, and she'll be talking to us on ownership and leading by setting your own goals and your meeting your promises. So over to you, Nish.
Thanks so much, Gary. By the time I share the presentation, can I make a quick request of the wonderful people on the call today? Could you get yourself a couple of pieces of paper, a notebook, a pen, because this is going to be a completely interactive session. So if you could get yourself some writing material to jot your thoughts down, it'd be absolutely awesome. I'll share the screen in the meanwhile.
Yes.
Please let me know if you're able to see the screen.
Yes, yeah, we can see the screen now, yeah.
I'll just go into full-on mode. If you don't mind, I'll keep a small screen open of a face on the screen. I really don't like talking into a blank screen. So please do, unmute as we go into a conversation around certain activity materials that we have. I'm hoping that this is as interactive as possible for the very simple reason that when I say that this session is about ownership, it can't be about my perspective then. If it is about your journey, I would love for you to put your thoughts into this session, and we'll work on it together. So if that's okay for all of you,
yeah,
I'll get started right now. Thank you so much, Gary, for the introduction. So as Gary has said, I'm a professional facilitator and coach. Now, making sense of the human experience has been an absolute passion of mine, whether it is self-awareness of my own journey, my strengths, my blind spots, my opportunities, or about helping people uncover their own. Huge believer in leading by strengths, because there are plenty of things that are flawed, deeply flawed in each one of us, but dwelling on those has not led us anywhere. So to uncover our strengths, to amplify our strengths, to embrace our strengths is the way forward. And of course, in my life, I've got 2 people who teach me that beautiful lesson every single day. My 7-year-old son, who does not allow me to dwell on anything slightly negative, and my 77-year-old dad, who is not only my financial guru, but also my life guru. So I've been very blessed by these 2 people in my life, who are my constant teachers. And I'm hoping that today what I'll bring to you is a little bit of my personal flavor of what I consider ownership and leadership. But I went a step further for this session. As I was thinking through what do I present on, what will make sense to the large majority of people who will want to tune into this particular learning, I thought to myself, why do I have to limit this session to my perspectives? So I reached out to 15 leaders that I really admire at Mitre, and I sent them out a survey about some of the little quick tips and techniques, nuggets of wisdom, their own life experiences, their lived experiences, and they've been really kind to share quite a few of their life histories with me. You'll see that sprinkled through the session. So there's some of you, there is some of me, and there's some of the best leaders that I have worked with. So I'm hoping that this power of shared perspective will give a very holistic view of what we mean by leadership at work. Why we're here today to focus us very clearly about what we're here to do. We are here to talk about how we show up in our own journey. A lot of times when I have seen this in myself, every time I have moved countries. So when I moved from India to Dubai and I moved from Dubai to New Zealand, obviously there were roadblocks. Obviously there were barriers. Obviously I had to spend a few months finding a job, a place, a company to belong to. And during that time, I faced huge amount of self-doubt. And I realized that there are a lot of barriers. There are some systemic barriers, and I'll never deny that. There are some barriers created by the ecosystem, the people around us. But a lot of the barriers I faced were in my mindset, in my presumptions, in my perceptions. So it's almost become my life, oath or my life game to work on this perception barrier and to cut it down little by little every single day. It's a moving feast sometimes. The lockdown happened, again, the self-doubt rose. I changed a job, again, the monsters came up. So to constantly be at this game of recognizing how I show up, and to make sure that I show up in the way that I deserve. So that's what we're going to focus on today. So there's two parts to it. I'll talk about how we own our own journey, and then I'll also break it down into how we lead it with others. So how do I bring that power of inclusion, power of community into my life, so I don't feel that this is an isolating journey? My favorite quote, and I keep going back to this: start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. So there's a huge amount of freedom in these words. I don't have to be at my perfect best to be happy. I don't have to learn 18 certifications to be relevant to my job. I don't have to put in, overwork and burnout and prove myself every single minute to be effective and efficient. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. So there's a power in this ring fencing of our efforts as well. So hopefully that's where we get to. Where are we today? What do we have in our toolkit today? And what is that one action that we can take to commit to our growth? So that's where this session is moving towards. So hopefully you've grabbed yourself a pen and paper to work through the session. So plenty of questions. So what I'll do is there are 3 parts to this presentation and 3 questions in each part. We'll go through the 3 questions as self-reflection time. And once we've gone through all 3 questions on your pen and paper, we will stop, and I'll stop sharing. And we'll go into a small discussion before we start the next part of the session again. So hopefully that's all right with all of you. So the first part, owning your journey. So that's the first part of our journey today. You are allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress. This is the part of our conversation today where we say, I am the owner, the holder of a lot of skills, a lot of strengths, a lot of values, and a lot of potential. But at the same time, I bring to this journey of myself humility. Humility to take in perspectives, humility to share those perspectives, humility to ask, to seek for feedback, and then to use it in manners that are beneficial to both myself and people around me. So you're allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress. Now this, if there is one message that I say to myself all the time and to every migrant I meet, it is this: we will limit ourselves. We limit ourselves when we move countries, when we move jobs, when we move roles, when we move life, commitments as well. We keep thinking that to put in all 100% effort, 200% effort is enough. I keep working at it. I keep putting in as much effort and energy and time as I can, and things will change. without really adding other lenses to it, I believe that just being good at my job is enough to go ahead. And this is the biggest myth I want to bust today. It's not enough. It's not in all that leads to 200, 300, 400% of your effort without knowing what you're working at. Why you're working at what you're working at is not going to get us anywhere. So what we need is that stepping back, going back to our roots and building up from there in order to see actual tangible changes in our career growth. I want to speak to you about the model that I have based this on. If you guys have heard of Egon Zehnder, one of the best global consultants when it comes to leadership. They work at the CEO level and the exec level and every level downwards. Now they have made it their life's business to talk about how people can move ahead in their career. So considering that is the basis of our conversation today, I want to talk to you about how things were in the past, how they are perhaps in the present, and how they should be in the future. So if you look at how we used to consider our careers in the past, there was a whole amount of emphasis put on results, a whole amount of emphasis saying skills and experience, certifications, education, your MBAs, your MAs, your engineering, your medical, your law degrees. It was a degree based career growth. And even to get into a particular organization, you needed to have that educational background. If you go to the present, the funnel or the pipeline has changed a little bit more. So now instead of talking about degrees, we're talking about competencies. And competencies mean attitudes, mindsets, behaviors. So how do you present yourself at work becomes a big part of it. Your identity. Do you know who you are? Do you know how to embrace who you are? Do you know how to then move into a cultural fit within the organization? Though, very, very frankly, and this is a little disclaimer, because it's in the model, I'm talking about culture fit. Culture fit is one of my triggers, and we'll talk about that when it comes to bias in the workplace in the panel. I'm quite eager to get into that. Culture fit is a two-edged sword. And not a big fan of the word, but I think it means how we know, whether we know how to network with people and to build relationships, and we'll take it at that very base level meaning of it, and personality. So again, presence. What is the presence, the executive presence, the leadership presence, the self-leadership presence that I bring into the organization? But to go from the past and the present, if you were in the mode of what I know, knowledge economy, to a mindset behavior economy, where is the future? The future is very clear. And these are the 4 words I'm going to engage with all of us on. Curiosity. What is my ability to learn, to constantly learn and grow? To never be stagnant, never be happy with, this is as much as I know, as much as I can do. I'm 40 years old. Now, at the age of 43, and Gary and I have spoken about this, both of us now at this particular age, we can be in a very safe mode of never doing anything new. You know, to use a Hindi phrase over here, and excuse me if that's not understood, I'll translate it as well. Bas ho gaya, sab kuch ho gaya. You know, everything is finished, we're done, we're settled. And that's a very, I've heard a lot of migrants say, now I'm settled. And that settled feeling is the antithesis of curiosity. Like, you know, it's like the kryptonite for curiosity. How do I put on a different lens now? There's a world of learning to do. And how do I get into that? Insight. It's not enough to learn. Because of that learning, what insight do I have about myself and the world around me? Engagement. Because of that learning and that insight, how am I building relationships? Whether it is within my company, within my peer group, within the stakeholder functions, within the customer base, or outside in the industry. How am I translating this into engagement? And finally, as much as learning we do, as much as awareness that we have, as much as engagement we amplify, we should remember that things will go wrong. The world will turn upside down. And so when adversity strikes at our door, how are we able to flip our story? How are we able to reframe what is happening to us in a way that is optimistic, in a way that is growth oriented? So this is the model I've used to get all the questions going. So without any further ado, please get your pen and paper out. And I'm doing the exercise with you guys, so I see my own gaps, areas. So what I want you to do is on your sheet of paper, so if you have the first sheet of paper, right on the top, I want you to write the word goal, yeah, and write down that one career goal that you aspire to in the next 2 years. One career goal. So we're making this very focused. So think of one. Make it as specific as possible. Brilliant. Thank you. We will take 30 to 45 seconds, maybe a minute, based on how complex the question is to write down our thoughts. Yeah. Now, I want you to make 3 circles underneath the goal, right? Put down 3 circles underneath the goal and write your responses within those circles, right? In the first circle, use only the first circle right now. If you could write down 3 personal values that you have, and if I can explain this for a few seconds, 3 personal values that align to your goal. For example, I'll take my own goal and I'll talk through it so it makes sense. My goal is become a diversity consultant in the next 2 years, right? So that is my goal. In the next 2 years, move towards becoming a diversity consultant. What are my personal values that align to the goal? Number 1, equality. Equality is a huge personal value of mine. Fairness. Fairness is a huge personal value. Growth. Growth is a huge personal value. There are many other values that you will embrace in your life. Yeah, honesty, equality, determination, freedom, lightheartedness, joy, happiness, whatever these values are, think of 3 and put it into the first circle. We'll take 45 seconds for this.
And can these be personal qualities, or we're talking professional skills?
Personal values.
Values.
Values are always personal. Values are something, they are like the root. You carry your roots everywhere with you. So your values don't change because you change a company. Your values are you, intrinsically you. So what are those deep values? Equality, freedom, fairness, honesty, love, compassion. So these are inherently you because of your lived experience, because of your choices that you made, because of people that you followed, right? So these become your values. So think of values as the roots that stay firm in your life.
Yeah.
Because I'm coming to exactly what you're asking about, Gary, which is personal skills. What are 3 personal skills that will get your goal? Now, these are things that you can acquire. For example, diversity consultant in the next 2 years, my personal skills are my ability to take diverse perspectives. So I can understand, listen, be empathetic to diverse perspectives. The second is empathy itself. I can move from empathy to compassion. Empathy is static, whereas compassion is wanting to translate my empathy into action for others. So compassion. So embracing diverse perspectives, compassion, these are skills. The third one is for me to be able to communicate what I want in a way that is understood by many people. So communication skills. So all of us have many personal skills that we have. So in the next circle, please write down 3 personal skills that will get you to your goal. And this we will take 30 seconds. Thank you. In the next circle, 3 actions that would take you closer to your goal. What will you do? Yeah, 3 actions that would take you closer to your goal. I don't think I need to explain this. This is pretty self-explanatory. So 30 seconds for this. Time's up. So I want you to make a box underneath these 3 circles now. And I want you to write down which circle was the hardest for you. Filling up which circle was the toughest. I'll stop sharing because this is where I think I would love to know what was the journey you went on. So if we can pause a little bit and talk about this section of it. Now I call this the direction section. I give myself some direction, right? So in this direction section, which was the toughest? If you guys can go, all of us can go and unmute. I would love for this to be more of a free conversation.
Yes.
So let's answer it from the bottom now. Which was the toughest section for you to actually jot down? Anyone?
I'd say the actions bit. I was quite clear on my values, clear on the skills that I would go, but then you look back into your goal and go, okay, what's my actions? But as I got a little deeper into it, it's that I will do this. Yeah, it's getting really specific. So yeah, that would be
absolutely. Absolutely. And we find that dichotomy quite sometimes, like, some of us are really self-aware. We've made that journey many times inward and we're very self-aware, but it's that, turning it into actionable outcomes. That is the next part of the journey. Thank you so much, Shyam. Anyone else? Gary?
From my side also, I think I was also stuck on actions. So the same point that yes, I understand my values and my personal skills. Let me clarify. So I know what actions I have to take, but it's still tough because I know it's not easy to execute them, and that's where I think my progress journey may be stopping. Selena, we want to hear from you.
Thank you.
Now, I agree with Shamini and you, Gary. I mean, it's all good. You know your goals, you know what you're planning ahead, you know what you want to do ahead, you know what your values are because it's your personal thing, you know what your skills are because you've obviously been studying and working towards it. But the thing is, you put all these things into a doable thing, to actually activate it or I find it very hard to motivate myself. Motivation is the only thing that I lack. Somebody needs to push me from behind and say, go do it.
Beautiful.
On my own I won't be able to do. That was just me.
And Selena, you've said it so beautifully. This is the truth of so many of us. Number one, by the way, just to commit to actions and say these are the 3 actions I'll take is a huge journey by itself. Because most of the time we love living in dreamland. I need. There's a lot of unfulfilled dreams and aspirations we surround ourselves with. And the weight of those unfulfilled dreams and aspirations are what are keeping us back. They're holding us back. They're not allowing us to feel happy about our lives. And that happiness is not translating into future action. Right? We have to feel content first. How will we feel content? Like my favorite conversation is always about my gym journey. Right? So at one point of time, and Shyam knows this only too well, I've spoken about this. At one point of time in my little, phone box, right now, if you see, it's very clean. It's got a debit card, it's got one ID card, and it's got 2 more cards over here. Right? That's it. I used to have 6 gym cards. I had membership to 6 gyms, and I went to none. I went to none.
How does that work?
I would go. I always blame the gym for my lack of movement.
Okay.
Oh, that gym's not good. They don't have the right environment. Those weights are not right. That guy looked at me funny. You know, but there was hardly anything about what will I do. Or the other extreme. When I did take action, it was massive actions. I will stop eating anything to do with carbs from today onwards for the rest of my life. I will not eat any sugar. If sugar comes near me, I'll run 20 kilometers the opposite direction. Large actions which are
extreme
unsustainable.
actions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what I want you to do is when it comes to actions, I want you to put and this is a self-reflection. Don't need to share it. If you look at your sheet back again, look at those actions and think about how wild and big are they? Because where we lose the plot is not to scaffold our actions. And sorry for any animal lovers here, I will find another phrase which says the same thing. Maybe you guys can help me. You can eat an elephant only one bite at a time.
Okay. Bite as much as you can chew.
Yeah, thank you. Possibly a lot safer. Safer to say this. I don't want to be incorrect and offend anybody's sensibilities here.
Yes.
But we take on too much at a time.
Yeah.
We make grand declarations of commitments. For example, if I want to become a diversity consultant in the next 2 years, if I say to myself, I'll put myself on a 1-year course, that's a large commitment. Whereas if I break it down into, I will speak to a current diversity consultant and get views on what it means to figure out if I really want to do it. That's tangible. It's one conversation. So start small. Start small, build it habit by habit by habit. So right now I say to myself, I will go to 2 F45 sessions in a week. That's all I'm committing to. I joined F45 finally. This is not an endorsement of any sorts. It's just another gym. I've tried every gym in New Zealand. It's the last one. So F45, I've committed to 2 sessions in a week. That's all I'm committing to because I know I can meet that. So what's that small bite you will take of your goal is my question to you, right? And I'll share the screen again. Padma, I want to hear you the next time as well. I know we didn't hear your thoughts, so hopefully we go there. So I give me some direction. The first direction is what do I stand for? And it's so cool that you guys have done that self-awareness journey into values. You will not believe of the thousands of people I've taken through leadership development journeys over the last decade or so, the number of times people get stuck on the word values. They ask me for examples. They're like, what do values mean? What are you talking about? Tell me more. I don't know what you mean. And that shows to me that we have not done enough of a journey inside. So what do I stand for? What are my core values that are immutable? I carry them with me like my, like my blueprint all the time. Where do I want to go is the next one, to break it down into the goal, the future. And the third one is how do I want to be seen as I'm going through this journey, right? So what am I doing about the way I'm moving this step by step? So here I want to speak about 3 things: learning moments, learning by reframing, and learning by humility, right? So there are 3 gifts we can give ourselves. To stop considering that as we're going through this journey, we have to wait for formal learning, formal skills, formal experience. It's only if I join a course, only if I join a qualification. It's only if I join a conference, webinar, seminar that I'll learn. Every conversation, every action, every reaction, every interaction is a learning moment. How do I start recognizing those learning moments and utilize them to the best of my ability? Learning by reframing. When something happens and it's not so good, how do I learn to flip it? And learning by humility, which is openness to learning. How do I rip apart my ego and say, I'm ready to receive? Now, if you can go to the next, hold on to the same pattern. If you can flip to the next page, and draw 3 more circles for yourself. We're going into the next part of our journey. So if the first one was direction, going to the next part. 3 circles again. And as we're talking about learning moments, learning reframing, and learning with the humility, I want to go into 3 questions to amplify this space. Number 1, in the first circle, 3 new things you have learned this past year. 3 absolutely new things which are not in your toolkit the year before are there now. Not to an expert level, you've started the journey. 30 seconds, time starts now.
Sorry, Nish, is this 3 things I've learned about myself? 3 things?
Could be anything at all. It could be a skill, a tangible physical skill. It could be surfing. It could be knitting. It could be a workplace skill. It could be a new language, whatever. We'll stop and move to the next question. Next circle. 3 things you have failed at this year. 3 things you have failed at this year.
That's a tough one. You try to tend to think that you have always won in things, you know.
Yeah.
You have to confront where you failed. Yeah.
Let's do 30 seconds again. We stop. We move to the third circle. 3 times you have reached out and asked for help. 3 times. And it could be in your personal professional space. Considering we're talking about the workplace right now, might be more relevant to think about your workplace. 3 times you have reached out and asked for help. Thirty seconds again. Let me stop sharing at this point. And I think the question I want to start with is those learning moments, right? Well, can anyone share? And we'll go one person, one question and see where that leads us. So the first question was 3 things you have learned this year. So what came up for any one of you who wants to share? 3 new things that you learned this year. And when I say year, I mean take 12 months back and it not be a calendar year, you know? Just take a year back in your memory. Anyone wants to jump in?
Yeah, I can. I never thought I could run, so I learned that it's something I can actually do.
And you do amazingly well.
No, not consistently enough, but I have learned that for myself, it's something I thought I can never do. So it was quite a moment for me going, I could. And that whole scaffolding came up, like it's little, you don't do it at one go, you do a little bit by little bit. My coach is here as well, so she can tell you about that. So yeah, maybe I'll let someone else share what else they have learned. Yeah.
Anything else, guys?
I learned how to write an assignment correctly. I learned that learning to study is a thing.
Yeah.
So how to study is also a thing, and that was an epiphany moment for me.
Very good.
Yeah, because I struggled with just study, because I've never been an academia person.
Yeah.
And in the last calendar year, I've taken a master's. Do not ask me why I decided to do that. But anyway, and I reached out for a lot of help. I went to every support group, every assignment writing, anything would say is like, this is support for the postgraduate students. I'm like, I'm there. To a point, the person was running, the person was administrating it knew me by name, because I would turn up to every session. But for me, one of the things I learned was learning to study, how to study.
That's right.
Is a thing by itself, and that blew my mind.
Yeah, it's a huge skill, isn't it?
Yes.
So I was recently working with my team on what are core learning and developmental competencies. So in my industry, what are the core competencies? And we were using a framework which has 25 competencies. On top of the list was develop continuous learning skills. It seems like we're telling learning professionals to suck eggs, but then when you talk to learning professionals, we suck at learning. It seems to be the toughest thing to get into. We're so used to telling. We're so used to leading others' journeys that our own journeys become quite ignored.
Yeah.
So yes, Gigi.
I can share my experience. So one of the things I failed in this year was creating a work-life balance, and also failed at improving my fitness levels, which I had thought I should do. And and then you asked that how many times do you ask for help? So I really couldn't think of many, just one occasion where I for the first time got into a thing with the gym instructor, and I thought maybe that will help, but it didn't help. The instructor,
are you blaming the gym instructor now?
Yeah. I've done that so many times. The gym instructor was not the right fit for me.
Yeah. I'm going through that phase.
It is amazing how we do that, right? Selena, what came up for you?
Okay, can I do all at once, or do I have
to go for it. Go for gold.
So the thing that I learned from the last year was, and because I've been a stay-at-home mom, I realized that when I want to do something, it's not working hard, it's working smarter. So when I packed my baby in her pram and all a nappy bag, and from going from A to B, I was thinking, why can't I go from A to B to C and do as many jobs while I'm out of the house, rather than coming home, then going out again, multiple trips to different places. So just that was an example. So working smarter was the thing that I learned. And multitask and do several things all at once, which we automatically do anyways, but I did not know at that time. I was a simpleton, but that's what I learned. What I failed at that, I have lots of failures. I mean, I'm not a very perfect person, but I couldn't think of one simple thing. I mean, but I did reach out for help, and I found that I was brought up in a community that said that if anything happens, just keep quiet about it and just work through it. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell, because log kya kahenge? What will people say? You don't want to bring shame on your family and stuff like that to show everyone that you're such a big failure. So if anything, but I found that keeping quiet doesn't help. You need to open your mouth. You need to tell others if you're lagging behind. And I found that really helped, because I went and told one mom, and then she told someone else, and people just come and help. They say, especially during lockdown, people kept calling up and saying, how are you managing? Do you need anything? Do you want us to get stuff for you? That's just an example, but reaching out. And I'm very happy that I belong to a very good community, and people, I mean, living in a foreign country, you don't have that support system that you have back home. You know,
Yes.
you don't have uncles and aunties coming in at all times of the day and night, and your grandmother sending you recipes and sending you cooked food. I don't have all that luxury. So you're reaching out really helps, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Such a
Absolutely.
beautiful message,
That's
Selena.
lovely.
And I think, uh, having your quasi family
Mm.
here, your step-in family here is so important. The last 3 years of lockdown have been traumatic for many of us in the migrant community, being separated from our actual families for so long with no
Yes.
access to them other than on WhatsApp calls. It's
Yes.
been a heartbreaking journey.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're all at that stage and age where our parents are, not in the best of health, and that adds, a very heavy nuance
Yeah.
to our lives, to our experiences. So we've dealt with deaths in the family, we've dealt with illness in the family, we've dealt with, mishaps.
Yes.
And the only way we can survive is to find that quasi community, the quasi family, and hold on tight,
Yeah.
because that's who we are. We're community based people.
Yes. Yes.
And keeping ourselves in our houses thinking, no, I'm a self-sufficient person, I'm a self-made person,
Mm.
is possibly the most detrimental for our mental health.
Mm. Yes.
And
Yes.
it's such a beautiful message, Selena. I can't thank you enough for that.
You're welcome. I
you
can
know-
write a book on personal growth.
Lovely. Do that, huh? Don't stop. Yeah, write a small book. It doesn't have to be too long.
But I'd love to hear Padma. I never really heard her views though.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
So what were your
My response for asking for help?
for all three? Like if you have a summary response.
Sure. Like, so for my what I learned is I learned how to write assignments, master's assignments. And one of the things which was when I reached out for help, one of the academia person mentioned to me, academia writing is no one's first language. And I was like, what? He said, English is people's first language, but academia writing is no one's first language is academia writing. It's a learned skill. And I was like, instantly my self-blame of I am not good enough to do masters. I'm struggling with my assignment. Is this even something I should be doing? Changed to, I just need to learn the right way to do this. It's not that I don't have the capacity to do this.
Correct. So you mean it was a skill? It was an acquired skill, right?
It was an acquired skill, which I didn't know.
Okay.
In the last year, I wrecked my knee. I learned how to walk in crutches and do things beautifully in crutches.
Okay.
And I just adapted and did things, and I still managed good donation while I was still in my crutches. And not giving up and sustaining myself with crutches, not pushing myself too much where I self-injure. Also learning when to stop and how to look after my body when it says, I need to rest, I need to rest. What was the second one?
The second one.
Oh, yes, the things I failed in. I failed in writing assignments on time. And I learned I needed, nothing has changed since school. I leave it till last minute to write the assignment, and I failed at that. So I needed to get better. The other thing I failed at is I did not get enough bridal clients. So just for people who don't know, I also do makeup and wardrobe, which started off a side hustle, which is like a kind of a money-making business for me now. But I did not hustle enough or did not put myself out there enough to get enough bridal clients. I failed at that. So I was like, yes, I'm good at what I do, but did I make enough clients for myself? I was like, no, I failed. I'm very good at asking for help.
Oh, beautiful.
That's good. That's good.
So I reached out and wrote in. So I took a year off from work. And when I took a year off and I was coming to the end of the year and I was applying for different jobs, and I was even asking myself, what do I want of life, or what do I want? So I made this template email, and I made a list of 20 people who have worked in the industry who I admire, who whose work I admire, I've worked with before, and they already know my work ethics. They already know how I work.
Yeah.
Sent them all an email saying, this is where I am right now in my life. I am looking for these kind of work. This is my experience, and attach my CV without even asking them. And you go like, here you go. It was brilliant. And the job that I landed at the moment, it was through that. So they found my thing and they're like, you should apply for this. This is in here. And the person from that space, our connection really worked. And, you know, I am in the job that I am right now.
It's good.
It's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Okay, if I can come back to something, sorry, Gigi, not to cut you off. If I just want to make a point because of something Padma said and Selena said. If you have struggled with that question, what did I fail at? That struggle is real.
Okay.
Because that struggle is because of the word I used. So I want us to be able to flip that word for ourselves as well.
Okay.
When you ask somebody, we have such an inbuilt, almost reaction to the word fail that our brain refuses to recognize failure. It either makes an excuse for what happened. It buries it under memories. Or it starts going into blame game. Yeah, so it refuses to acknowledge failure. So in my own mind, because I wanted to give myself the power of recognizing my blind spots, recognizing feedback, good feedback when it came to me, giving that space for growth, I had to flip the word fail. And I put that word purposely on the slide because that word is so confronting. If you're able to make peace with that word, good for you. Good for you. If you're able to lean into that word. If not, and if that word is stopping you from having a great moment of self-introspection and bringing in the power of others' perspectives, change it to learning moments. The minute I change the word to learning moments, oh, this is a learning moment. This is my learning moment. The minute you do that flip, you're able to move through that conversation. Failure is too confronting. None of us want to sit there. Like, I love Gigi's reaction. The minute I said, what did you fail at? He was like, oh my God, this is really tough. I don't know. I don't want to know.
You're very right. You don't want to believe that you failed in anything.
Yeah.
You want to believe that you're a winner and you have done everything right this year,
It was really interesting when you said, what did you fail at, Nish? I was like, oh yeah, I know.
And for some people that flip is very instant because they're like, failures are my stepping stones. We believe in that and we go right into it. It's like, I love my failures. But for some people, it is such a, we tried a team meeting format in our, people and culture team at Mitre 10, where we used to ask this question regularly. What have you failed at? And what did you learn? What have you failed? Nobody would come up with anything. And I was like, what am I doing wrong over here? Because it was my idea, right? And then I'm like, you're doing what you have done to yourself. Like you gave yourself that failure mode and you didn't lean into it. So help people out. And then the minute we changed it to learning moments, now everybody comes up with something in meetings. It's crazy.
You made it positive rather than a negative journey, Learning moment is a positive aspect of the same thing, actually.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. And so the one thing that I say over here is, always try,
just a time check, Nish. You'll need to wind up in 5 minutes.
Done. So we will go to the last 3 questions after this.
Yes.
Try new things and lean into discomfort. Lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, be okay with failing small and big. And lesson number 3, be open to asking for help. And we've spoken about those 3 things right now, right? I'll go to the last bunch of things. And it was my favorite photo. I just wanted to put it across. What's my presence like? How do I come across to other people is a huge thing as well. Last bunch of circles, guys, 30 seconds each. Yeah, so draw the last bunch. And here our questions are 3 people who are invested in my growth, in your growth, my growth, whoever's growth. 3 people who are invested.
Is that including myself?
No. Other people. Hopefully you're here because you invested in your growth.
And also, just to clarify that being invested means 3 people who will help you grow or 3 people who will benefit with your growth.
Or who will help you grow.
Who will help.
Very good question. Very good clarification. Who will help you grow.
Yes.
If they benefit from it, good for them, but that's not why they're there.
Yeah. Okay.
What if I can't think of anyone at the moment? Can I leave it blank?
Yes, you can. And then we'll talk about that. Yeah. In the 5 minutes Gigi has given me, we will try and have a conversation.
Okay.
3 ways. And I'll try and explain this next circle. 3 ways in which you're partnering with them. Now, let me make that really simple. 3 ways in which you're interacting with them. You're making sure they're part of your life. You're giving them thought space, actual conversational space. "30 seconds again. Selena, this may be a blank because it's a related question. Don't worry about it. Because whatever is blank shows you a place for growth.
Thank you.
Yes, there are many blanks in these circles this time. Yeah.
But it's the self-made person, philosophy that we all subscribe to that sort of stops us from that next step. 3 people, and look at this question, 3 people whose growth you are investing in. You are helping 3 people grow. Who are those 3 people?
To me, this is very easy. I can easily say it's my child.
Beautiful. Put that on. And I had my son on that list as well. Absolutely did. Thank you. So if you look at this, right, this is the support system that we usually deprive ourselves of. Who are my trusted advisors? Who are the people I let into my life who actually care about how I grow? And they give me all the tools, all the conversations, the insights. They give me that brutal, high candor feedback that will help me go to the next level. Who are those people? And without these trusted advisors, it becomes really difficult to not feel alone in this journey, to not feel that the burden of the world is on my shoulders. Right. And I'll show you a little bit of a statistic over here, when it comes to network beyond and why I put that. And then the last one is pay it forward. Never expect a relationship with anybody if you're not willing to invest back.
Yes.
Nobody is going to keep putting into you when you don't show up for them. Now, like I said to you, I asked my Mitre colleagues, what do you feel? Which relationship has helped you grow? Most of them said relationship with my leader or with the senior member on the team. And it's a very critical relationship. How do I amplify that relationship is a question I want you guys to have. So if you put a question down at the bottom of those 3 circles and say, if you are in a corporate environment, relationship with my leader. For Gigi, relationship with your wife. How will you, sorry, I was joking. She's his boss. Very bad joke, Gigi. I take it back. But how do I foster this relationship, right? And if you saw, all of them said, but I asked them this question, what made that relationship come to life? They all said communication, time with them, communication, ongoing communication, relationship was a word 7 out of 15 people used.
Okay.
Committing to time and energy with your leader and not considering your leader your enemy or somebody who's there to do performance reviews for you.
Yeah.
Was the only flip. Your leader has to become your champion for you to move to the next level. If not your leader, then find a senior member within your network. And why did I say network beyond over here? Because don't get stuck with a leader who's not investing in you. If you immediately find that on your shortlist, your leader is not there, it means you have to look for somebody else within your network to be able to step into that role for you. And 3 things help over here. Regular one-on-ones. If you're not getting formal and informal conversation time over coffee, corridor conversations, if they don't get to know you as a person, they will not speak about you when you're not in the meeting. They will not champion you and your work with the high-level associates. They have to know you. In order for people to champion you, they have to trust you. In order for them to trust you, number one, yes, you're already a hard worker. We all know that. You work at your 100%, but you also have to build relationships. And that power of relationships is what we deny ourselves. And that power of relationships starts from the first time where you ask for help, where you put your hand up and said, I need more than just me. And the second is when you allow them a trust space where you say, I will proactively seek feedback. I'll not wait for shit to hit the roof and then come and ask you what went wrong. On a regular basis, I'll tell you, I'm ready for brutal feedback. I'm ready for whatever you tell me. You're my mentor. Tell me what you think. And I'll be able to accept even feedback or feed forward that is uncomfortable. And I'll top all of that with networking in and out, because one person's perspectives is not enough. I need multiple perspectives. The number of times I have walked into networking events and seen people huddle with each other, like for like. It could be as basic as a country or a region affiliation, like Indians with Indians, Sri Lankans with Sri Lankans, Chinese with Chinese, Filipinos with Filipinos. It becomes very like, I'll go to my and I'll stick there because this is my comfort zone. If you need to go to the next level, you have to break out of that comfort zone. Right? So what's your network? How many meetups are you going for? How many conferences are you going for? And when you go there, how are you not hiding in a corner? And actually seeking out different people. And now, because of the paucity of time, sorry, I haven't heard you guys around this, but I'm quite keen to get into the panel discussion as well. So to top all of these conversations, if you put in a box right at the bottom and say, I've got my gaps, I've got my strengths, I have my circles, out of all of those thoughts that have come across in the last 50 minutes for you, one action, and I'm asking for one, not 3, one action you commit to in the next month, which will move you closer to the goal you wrote in the first minute. Just one action. And that was pretty much the game plan. 3 areas of your growth: direction, permission to learn, and support of others. So direction, permission, support. So those were the 3 buckets or the circles that you drew for yourself. And this is pretty much a journey of introspection that I'm hoping you were with me on. And I'm hoping it gave you some insights about what you need to do next and where your energy and time needs to go. So thank you so much for the space, Gary.
Yes.
Thanks, Nish.
Thank you, Nish. Thank you. This was amazing. I know we are running short of time, but this is such an amazing topic, and we can go on and keep discussing this. But I think there were some very, very golden nuggets you shared with us, and a very good thought process, I would say, which you are creating, and I think this helps us to counter any problem that we face, not only in work life but even in personal life. I think a lot of our goals were intertwined. We had professional goals, we had personal goals as well. And even when you asked that the people who are invested in you, and also the people who are in your support team. I wrote my wife as part of that, both. So I'm supporting her as well as she's supporting me as well.
Absolutely.
So those kind of relationships I realized, and I also realized that when you said that who are the people helping you in your growth, I realized I had some gaps there. So which makes me think that am I creating the right network to support myself?
That's right.
So really, I think I'm sure anyone who wants to share the experience before we move on to the next panel. Selena, you want to share your experience out of this workshop?
I really thought this was a good eye opener. I thought I knew everything. I knew I thought, I was really clever and I knew all the answers. But, honestly, I don't know anything and I learned heaps. So thank you guys for organizing. You all are so good at what you do, all of you all. Yeah. So I'm learning, and I'm still learning though. I'm still waiting for this panel discussion so I can learn heaps.
Yes.
I just wanted to add, I'm just glad I decided to turn up at 9:45. Thank you, Nish.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like I said earlier, I'm just here to I will turn up, I'll be support, I'll support Nish, just be there rather than turn up later. I'm glad, because I love how it was just not fluff. These are actionable, tangible information that we can go and actually implement.
Absolutely.
So, thank you so much.
Thank you.